There's some interesting ideas, but I don't like it when authors rehash a bit of another book, hoping that you're going to go out and buy that next. Fuck that. On. Look at that. Drastically improves when I put the lights on the view. Does it? I don't know. Anyway, that's for your benefit, my loves. I'm trying to make this look as wonderful as possible. Anyway, as promised, here's today's book review. It is Larry Niven's Convergent Series, a collection of short stories. So here we go. There's the cover scan of this edition here. I got it in a bric-a-brac shop or a charity shop a few months ago. I haven't read much of Larry Niven in the past. I've read a bit of his collaborations with Purnell, The Legacy of Harriet and things like that. But I haven't read Ringworld or anything of that nature, his popular stuff. So I thought I would begin with some of his short stories. Now, looking at the cover, I was slightly confused. It took me a very long time to work out what was going on here. But it appears to be an alien creature, perhaps based on jellyfish. Perhaps, or perhaps it's wearing a spacesuit and it's got its hands grasped like this and about to fling a fireball at someone. As far as I can remember, it has absolutely no bearing on any of the stories that feature inside, but there we are. That happens, doesn't it, my loves? So, right, at the very beginning, we've got a little introduction written by Larry Niven, and it appears to be his justification for releasing this book in the first place. Now, it boils down to this. He's got 30,000 words of new material and 30,000 words of old material that no one appears to be able to get their hands on, apart from huckster sellers at science fiction conventions. So Larry's thinking, along with his publisher, I want a piece of that. People still like those stories. Right, I've got some, let's just write 30,000 words of stuff and we'll get it together in a book and we could sell that. And I'm being very cynical here. Perhaps it wasn't that way. I don't know how this transaction transpired, but I think we all know what publishers like to do. They want to get as much money as possible. Well, it's fair enough. It's fair enough. But were these stories justified? Were they any good, my loves? Now, that's what we're going to be looking at today. Now, the worrying thing is, when I cast my eye down the list of stories that are contained within this volume, there's quite a few of the devils. Some of them are fairly short ones, some of them are fairly long. Let's put a little copy of those there. Now, what I'm thinking of doing is going down the list and perhaps just saying a few words about them, whether they were any good or not, or whether I like them more specifically. Whether they're good or not is, who knows. But yes, I was going to say the worrying thing is that I looked at the first few stories in this list and I couldn't remember a damn thing about them. I only read it, a month ago? Maybe 2 months ago. So yeah, let's I'll have to refresh my memory as I'm going along, but there we are. Let's get on with it. Bordered in Black. It's the first story. It's 25 pages long. I like this one. So I'm not going to do too much because it will go too long basically, but basically I can't remember much about it. Fuck. Right, and rather than me trawling back through each story and trying to remember what I can from the story, I'll tell you what I think it's about. So basically, yeah, so I think astronaut comes back to Earth and destroys his ship. We're not going back to this planet we've discovered. It's no good. It's dangerous. We then get an account of what was discovered on this planet. And it was very interesting in that it was a vast world, one continent had this black border around it, bordered in black. And it turns out that this border, once they get closer to it, it's millions and millions of people. Pseudo-humans, really. A lot taller and thinner than we are. I think they're very dark of skin as well. And dark of skin, very dark skin. And they are they're all naked, and they're living and dying on the very edge of this continent, eating like a kind of slime that proliferates over the entire world. I think the ocean is green because of this slime. So they gobble up the slime. They live, they die. There's a load of bones everywhere. And so what the hell are they doing? They move around all over each other. Sometimes they fight each other. Often they're fucking and, making new humanoids in these very fraught social groups, shall we say. So there's not much going on mentally. They're just existing. And so the speculation is, now this is a spoiler here, that these people are potentially food. It's a food source for a higher entity. So they've been dropped on this planet with enough food to eat. So kind of like cattle being fed up to eventually be eaten. And perhaps they've been forgotten and they've just gone crazy. They've gone out of control, and there's millions and millions of them. I like the idea. I like the idea of all of these jostling humans or humanoids. And there was also a very nice depiction of the sky, the atmosphere. Now, interestingly, and this is something I really liked about this book, was that Larry Niven prefaces, or there's like a postscript. I can't remember if he prefaces or postscript, and he tells you a little bit about the story. Not always, but he tells you, if it's one of the older ones, he's telling you about like problems with them, scientific things that didn't bear fruit in the future, for example. And one of them was the theory that planets that have moons tend to have less atmosphere because the moon has sheared the atmosphere away. And so this planet they discover doesn't have a moon, and so the atmosphere is fucking massive. And so there was a really nice description of one of the astronauts looking up at the sky and describing the sky and the volume, the massive amount of clouds and things like that. I really liked that. But yeah, the most interesting thing, I suppose, was that idea of what they thought the role moons played in terms of a planet's atmosphere. How long was that? Almost 5 minutes on one story. Right, let's speed on here. See, it all comes back eventually. Right, One Face. What was that about? Fucking hell. Right, yes, I remember this one. This was interesting in that it was quite bleak in its ideas. So basically, this great big ship is powered by super intelligence. A micro meteor or a meteor gets through the shield and damages the brain. And instead of sending them through like a hyperspace, it sends them way, way into the future. So far into the future that our dear Earth it's at the end of its life. It's no longer rotating on its axis. It's locked tidally to the sun, which is now a red dwarf. I just liked that idea. Now, what transpires and what they end up doing, I won't get into because I don't remember. But I loved that idea. That's probably a spoiler, just even saying, because at the beginning they think they've discovered a new planet, but it's Earth. Spoiler. Next, like Banquo's Ghost. Now, this is a pet peeve of mine. I don't like short stories that have odd names. There we are. Banquo's Ghost. I'm thinking, yeah, don't remember anything about any ghost. Taking it literally, of course. This is a very short story. Okay, fair enough. Right, I do remember this one. So this is a kind of a gathering of scientists, and they're celebrating, I think, a probe reaching another world. And in the meantime, spoiler, said aliens have the capability of traveling faster than the speed of light, and they've returned before the probe could have returned, or the message from the probe would have returned, that kind of thing. But it's interesting. I remember the fact that these aliens, as advanced as they are, they're capable of traversing space faster than the speed of light, but they're not able to do things that humans can. I can't remember what they are. Simple things. Yeah, it was the fact that humans are capable of making probes, something like that. I didn't like it. Okay, the next one, the Meddler. What's that about? Fucking hell. Right, this is a longer one. Sorry, there's all manner of sirens and beepings going on outside. It could potentially be the start of a war or something, but I don't care when I'm in here. Right, I can almost remember this one, but I just didn't like it. And worse still, there was a passage, I've just remembered now, and it's in the middle of a paragraph, and complete gibberish, and it bears no relation to the story whatsoever. It says, describing this entity, it's alien basically. No hair or nipples marked his 1041 Convergent Series 10-11 × 20 tr.ms.10-23-b flashing white smile on me and asked, "Who's he?" So that has to be a mistake in the print, because it has no relation to the story whatsoever. It mentions Convergent Series, which is it's another story entirely called Convergent Series. Anyway, this story was about an alien. There you go, that's all you're getting. Right, the next one, Dry Run. What's that about? Right, okay, right. So look at that. This was my favourite story of the lot. Dry Run. Now this reminded me of a Stephen King story, really. So it's not science fiction at all. And it's not very long at all, but it's about a man that's, as the title suggests, he's doing a dry run of the murder of his wife. He hasn't murdered her yet, but he's doing a dry run. This is a spoiler here. I mean, the whole thing's a spoiler, really. The dry run being that he's already killed her dog. He's got it in the boot, and he's working out how he's going to dispose of the body and whatnot. But in so doing, in this agitated state that he's in during this dry run, he picks up a hitchhiker. The hitchhiker tries to mug him, gets a gun out, and unwittingly stumbles upon a man that's already close to the edge. And so he realizes that this man doesn't really care. He could potentially kill both of them, because he's mentally unstable. That's all I'm going to say about that. But I liked the way it was written. I liked the idea, and it was surprising because it had nothing to do with science fiction at all. Okay, the next one, Convergent Series, the titular story that inspired this collection, it would seem. What's this one about? Now, I do remember this one. Okay, it's about a man that conjures a demon. So this is getting into fantasy slightly, but there is a scientific bent because it's based on a mathematical idea. And basically, it's this demon that he summons, grants him wishes, I think. But it tells him at the end of the day, you're completely fucked. I'm sending you back to hell with me, and I'm going to, have my way with you for eternity. And so he realizes that he can hold him within a pentagram. But at the end of the day, he's going to break free of that, and he's in trouble, basically. This is a big spoiler, and it relates to the mathematical idea that Niven does describe at the beginning. Here we go. Yeah, it doesn't really say much about it. But anyway, he draws a pentagram on the demon's belly. And so every time the demon goes, aha, I've got you, he breaks out of the pentagram and is instantly transported back into another pentagram, which is on his belly, which each time, of course, is smaller. So he's going to be getting smaller and smaller and smaller into infinity. It's just going to keep going. I thought that was quite good in a way. In a way. Okay, next one, the Deadlier Weapon. I've just realised I've I've confused. Right, the one I was talking about, the man that was picked up a hitchhiker and all that. That's the next one called the Deadlier Weapon. So it's nothing to do with his wife and all of that. Anyway, that was the other one. Those two stories are similar. They're not, but there you go. Brilliant. So, right, my favourite story in this collection is the Deadlier Weapon. The Deadlier Weapon being the car and the fact that he's using it as a weapon potentially to kill them both, that kind of thing. No, the man didn't have a gun, he had a knife. Fucking hell. Right, how are we doing? 17 minutes, sweet. Right, the next one is called the Nonesuch. Now, this is mentioned on the back of the book. Pretty young Doris McCarran was unaware that a hungry, mind-reading, flesh-eating alien was stalking her, and when she found out, it surprised them both in more ways than one. I enjoyed this one. So this is set on a distant world that's been colonized by humans, but there was an indigenous creature that was absolutely deadly and would kill people frequently because it was able to read humans' minds and get them to do stuff. This is a spoiler. Now they overcome this problem by mentally preparing everyone that this creature doesn't exist, and in so doing they wink out of existence. It's, playing around with that kind of shit. Who wants to read this now? Am I doing this book a disservice? Of course I am. But there we are. What can you do? It's either that or I sit down for the next 2 hours rereading it. That's not going to happen. Okay, the next one is Singularities Make Me Nervous. Now, I do remember this one because I thought it was tedious and boring. But it deals with the idea of the singularity of a black hole and this chap realizing that by being so close to the black hole, or actually going into it, he's gone back in time, so he's able to help out his younger self advance himself, kind of thing. But yeah, that brings up various paradoxes that I won't get into now because I can't be asked. I just did enjoy it. I think I got the gist of what was being described, but it's still, I think it was the way it was described. I didn't quite get it, but it might of course be the fact that I just didn't understand it, and I'm blaming poor Niven for it. Okay, the next one, the Schumann computer. Don't remember this. Right. Okay. Right. So we've got to the area of the part of the book that he's rehashing stuff from an earlier book or collection. Draco's Tavern. These are all short stories from Draco's Tavern. So the Schumann computer, all the way up to cruel and unusual motherfucker. Up to there, it's all this tavern business, and so taken individually, it's quite clever the way they're used. You get to know one of the alien races, kind of an insect type of alien. What are they called? The Chirposphere, something like that. There's some interesting ideas, but I don't like it when authors rehash a bit of another book, hoping that you're going to go out and buy that next. Fuck that. Although I do like the idea of it being set in a tavern in a science fiction context and the meeting of various aliens. What is it? Mos Eisley in Star Wars, that kind of thing. Yeah. Okay, next. Transfer of Power. Okay, so this is fantasy fare, really. Fantasy fare. I think there's a dragon mentioned. That's all I'm saying. I'm sorry, I'm butchering this, but I mean, my mind is on my doctor's appointment later, and so that's the excuse I'm giving you. So it's all slapdash. Stick it up your mother's doodad. Sorry, I'm talking in tongues here. Right, the next one's Cautionary Tales. Now, what's that about, I hear you asking? Well, it's very short. Let's have a look, see if I remember what it was about. A couple of aliens talking to each other about the quest for immortality. Very short. But for a short story, it was remarkably tedious. That's all I'll say. Anyway. Okay, the next one's called Rotating Cylinders and the Possibility of Global Causality Violation. Okay, he's prefaced this story with, this story has a catchy title. I stole it from a mathematics paper by Frank J. Tipler. If I mistakenly confused another story. I don't think so. A tedious story about cylinders. There you go. Very short. I just can't be arsed with that one. Okay, the next one, Plaything. Again, a very short one. I like this one. Okay, so this one's set on Mars. A probe lands and some children are interacting with the probe. These children are, of course, Martians. They're aliens, and they are sensitive to heat. So they communicate in terms of heat. Yeah. Quite a novel idea in terms of the aliens, I thought, and their interactions with this human-made craft. I liked that one. Short and sweet, but quite sweet. Yeah, I liked it. Okay, the next one's called Mistake. This one is just 2 pages long. Don't remember it. I mean, I'm rereading it, and I don't even remember it, so I'm not even bothered talking about it. So there we are. There's that one. Night on Mispec Moor. I quite enjoyed this one. I remember this. So in the future, these kind of battles are financed by advertisement companies on this world that's reserved for these kind of pseudo-medieval battles. They're using swords and the like. And it's about a man that's involved in that. And he's on the losing side, but he eventually manages to escape, climbs up onto a lump of granite to wait out the rest of the day. But when night falls, these curious creatures come to try and kill him. That was kind of interesting. Okay, Wrong Way Street. Yes, this one does stick in my mind. Does it? Yes, yeah, I do remember this one. So, a crashed alien craft is found on the surface of the moon, and one of these, an astronaut, the man who's it's all about. I'm doing an amazing job. Mike Caproferi. Him and his team are tasked with trying to work out how this damn thing works in a very kind of rudimentary way. And just by pure accident, he manages to start something off. And lo and behold, it sends this craft into the past. So there's time travel. And it's kind of interesting because the craft that they discover in terms of causality has already been used by this man, this astronaut, this Mike, unknowingly. It's already back where he's fucked around with it, basically. Anyway, there we are. Right, so there were some that I liked, but a lot of them didn't really stick with me, as you can tell. And I think it's because you've got these little cast-offs from other things. I mean, one of these stories is saying that people still talk about it like today, or at the time he wrote that foreword at parties. They're talking about one of those stories. I think it was perhaps Convergent Series about the demon caught in a pentagram, but I would struggle to remember any of the others. Even the one I really loved, I confused with another one, but there we are. So, yeah, I don't know. If I had read that before anything else, I would have been put off reading anything else by Larry Niven, I've got to say, my loves. But saying that, I know the Ringworld series is supposed to be wonderful. What is it? The Moten God's Eye or something, that's supposed to be good as well. So I will branch out. I'll try to read his better stuff and see where we go. But I know one of you said that Convergent Series was good, worth a look. So perhaps I'm missing the point, or perhaps it's my current mental state that I'm just a bit fucking annoyed with it. Anyway, let's get the devil down and give it a damn good thrashing. I'm giving this 2 stars out of 5. I don't give a shit. And of course, anything 2 stars or lower gets the old heap. Fuck out of here. Anyway, there we are. Enjoy, my loves. I hope you enjoyed that. I've got 2 other books that I've read, and I'm reading a third. Some really interesting things to talk about, but I thought I'd get this one out of the way first because, I thought it was going to be hard to do. Anyway, I've been talking for half an hour, so I'm going to have to edit this down. Hopefully it goes a lot smaller after I've edited out all of the me trying to work out what the stories are about. Anyway, let's leave it there. Thank you for watching, my lads, if you have, and apologies for those of you who do watch all of my videos and to the bitter end. Today must have been a struggle unless I've edited it very, very heavily. Anyway, cheerio, and I love you. Where did that come from?